GearNetwork.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
Hey, this is Cher Ross from Vixen, and you're listening to the All Bets Are Off podcast with Robbie Vegas.
What's up, rock soldiers? This is the rockstar Robbie Vegas bringing you another episode of the All Bets Are Off podcast, brand new every single Sunday. And today I'm super excited because we have multiple guests. We have Mitch LaFon coming back for his second time. We have Joey Casada coming back for his second time. And we have my co-host Chaz Stanley coming back for his 1,099 millionth time. And today we are actually doing a hairband draft. And I'm not going to tell you too much about it. You probably already know if you're a consistent listener to the show. And today's going to be a blast. And I'm so looking forward to it. And I'm going to let Chaz explain more to you. But before I let him do that, today's episode is brought to you by DB. DB is a Scandinavian brand that makes backpacks and bags to help people on the move stay ready for anything. From the streets to the peaks, DB's gear is travel tested by some of the world's best athletes, adventurers, and creators. Over the past decade, DB has designed and developed, released, and refined the best bags in the market. With DB's patented hookup system, you're able to attach smaller products to your backpack, roller, or tote. Anybody who listens to this show knows that I always say that that's an important feature for any of us, especially those who are in the wrestling business. Your horror actors or actors in general, people who like to travel, go to cons, go to their own shows. That's an important feature, and we always blow that part up because we are teaming up with DB to exclusively offer our listeners 10% off your next purchase by using the code POD10 or going to the link in our show notes. DB, it's time to move on, time to get going. So we got everybody waiting here for you guys right now, and I'm really excited, like I said before, because this is something that I absolutely love very much, and it was all Chaz's idea, so I will give him credit for that. And I just want to remind you guys to also support Anguished Allure magazine at anguishedalluremagazine.com. That's where you can order your copies, because this episode is also brought to you by Anguished Allure. They're Buffalo's first and only magazine celebrating Halloween all year long. Buffalo's first, not just available in Buffalo, you can get it anywhere, but it's based in Buffalo. Anguished Allure magazine features gothic and horror-themed businesses, artists, and photographers. It's spooky season, so I know you guys are loving that right now. If you'd like to buy a copy and support them, or submit your own artwork or products, please reach out to them at anguishedalluremagazine.com. Get yourself an ad in this beautiful, wonderful magazine. These amazing men and women who work in it are one of a kind, and I truly support them. This is more than a sponsor. This is something I truly believe in, truly support, and I thank you guys for checking them out in advance. So what do you say we get this hairband draft rolling?
School has begun. The summer is over. I am in command. What was that? For that little outburst, each and every one of you will spend 3 hours in detention today, immediately after school, in the basement. What do you think you're doing? Twisted Sister. What kind of a man desecrates a defenseless textbook? I've got a good mind to slap your fat face. You are destroying your life with that garbage. All right, Mr. Sister, I want you to tell me, no, better yet, stand up and tell the class, what do you want to do with your life?
I want to rock.
We're just picking, whatever, best vocalist, best guitarist kind of thing.
Well, you're just drafting your squad, so if you want to draft your singer in the first round, you go for it. If you want to hold off and wait, and somebody can steal it, it's kind of like how they do fantasy football drafts, you know? So you just kind of like, if you feel like we all know, Mitch is probably going to draft Bon Jovi.
Perhaps.
Maybe.
I've got a lot of European bands up my sleeve. I'm a big European fan.
So it kind of goes like that. So, and then we'll do the draft. So it goes, we'll draw the numbers. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the next round is 4, 3, 2, 1, so on and so forth. So if you're picking fourth, you get 2 picks in a row.
That sounds good. And Joey, do we have to do rock, paper, scissors for Steve Brown? I mean,
Draft him.
you can have him, I guess, Mitch. But you know what we'll do? We're already recording, so we'll pretend like we were fighting over him.
No, I mean,
there you go.
this might not necessarily make the podcast. It's all
I could edit this.
Yeah, this is all good. Okay, so this is what we're going to do.
Please keep that in.
All right.
I want Steve.
We're going to go in the order. We'll let Mitch pick first. So these are different cards. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not the positions. Just pick your card. So we got 1, 2. So you want 2. So you got the caboose. So
I am dead last.
You're picking
Makes
4.
sense.
So Mitch is 4.
Canadians, we're used to being in the last match.
Joey, go ahead, pick yours.
I'll take the middle card.
This one here. So you got 3. All right, and then I'm going to reshuffle these for Robbie. Because I seen them, so it doesn't matter. So, but all right,
Mitch, it seems like we're getting set up already here. They have 1 and 2 already.
Robbie got deuce.
Wow.
Man's working hard. Now, when we're picking these guys, like, obviously Paul Stanley was around in the 80s, but he started in the 70s. He qualifies, right?
Yeah, my thing is like, they had to be some sort of prominence. Like, yeah, Kiss was still pretty big in the 80s.
Right.
And stuff like that. Queen was still big
like,
in the 80s.
Like Scorpions that I'm wearing.
Yes.
Right.
They started in like 65,
Yes.
but I mean, obviously their big time
Right.
was the... Okay.
Yep.
Like my...
I don't want people to go, no, you can't have him.
No. Like, for
Started
instance,
in 1974.
say, like...
Well, you know that's going to happen anyway.
There was some prominence, like say like Nirvana. Yeah, they started in the 80s, but they're not an 80s band. No one thinks of them as that. So
Right.
just like, well,
Gotcha.
I don't think we'll get into any disputes, and
Trouble?
if we do, that's fun.
Yeah. I mean, you can go with like Aerosmith, Alice Cooper, like, you know.
Yeah, whatever.
All right.
So it goes me, Robbie, Joey, Mitch.
Yep.
Okay, so whenever Robbie's ready to get rolling.
I'm ready, man. I mean, you're the ace. So you get to
You're the
pick
ace.
this out. And again, guys, too, just so you know, if, like, you brought up Paul Stanley, if you draft him as a singer, somebody else cannot draft him as a guitar player. He's gone.
Yep.
Right, of course. It's the person. Once the person's gone,
That's it.
he is gone.
Yep.
All right, well, are you recording? Just want me to go?
Joey's an 80s drummer, right? Because he started in those bar bands.
Yes.
Mitch, I'm on the board if you want to choose me. I would hope you go with me. And obviously, I would think you would choose drummers first because it's the most important. True.
Well, here's the thing.
You need a foundation in the house.
I was thinking of taking a drummer first overall because it's like there's a lot more guitar players and a lot more singers, but I'm going to break your heart, Joey, and I'm going to go with like the least popular position of bass player. And the bass player I'm going to take is
You don't need bass players. They're useless.
You need this guy because he's gonna make the rhythm and he's gonna write the damn songs for this band. And I'm taking Steve Harris of Iron Maiden as the first overall pick.
Not bad. Not bad.
So like,
I think that's a heavy hitting pick.
I think there's only a couple of like fantastic like these are insane bass players. So, and I think I got one of them. So I'm happy.
Listen, I respect that pick, but the problem is your band's songs are all going to sound like this. All a gallop.
Is there an issue with that? I like that. Maybe I'll have some guitar help coming in. We'll have to see. We'll have to see.
If somebody
Nobody
else
took
doesn't...
Johnny Crypt from LA Guns? No.
I wouldn't put him up there. Well, it depends on you, Robbie, if you're going to snake any of mine.
So I'm like torn. I don't know if I should go with my singer first or if I should go with my drummer first. And
Go singer.
I'm going heavy hitting on my singer though, and I'm gonna go with Sebastian Bach.
Surprising, not surprising.
Just saying, I think Sebastian Bach had the voice back then, and I kind of still think he does. It holds up. I mean, that's just me, and I'll put Bach over and tell him he's the greatest, even though he did get in a fight with friend of the show Chris Jericho.
Yes, he did.
But we're gonna let that go, and we're gonna pick Sebastian Bach.
Did anyone see the video of Baz hitting Eddie Trunk with the frozen cake?
No, what?
No, that's good. It was Eddie Trunk's birthday recently, and Eddie was hosting one of these, these big concert events, and Sebastian, I think his band was playing. So they're singing happy birthday to Eddie, and Sebastian comes out with this giant cake. And to be funny, Baz is Mr. Jokester. He goes to smash Eddie Trunk with the cake in his face. And it turned out the cake was almost frozen. And Eddie almost gets knocked out. He goes on the floor, almost unconscious. It's all over YouTube. You guys got to insert that right now.
Absolutely. I got to check that out because that sounds funny. That's crazy. We're up to you,
But it
Joey.
was just a wrestling bit. It was just a bit.
It could have been.
It was a storyline, yeah.
Could have been. Could have very well been. So, Joey, you going to start off the drummers here?
Well, I mean, obviously, I hope no one's picking my picks anyway, but I got to pick this guy just in case one of you guys try to get cute and take my drummer from me. I got to start with the drummer. Most important part of the band. You can have a mediocre lead singer, mediocre guitar player, but if your drummer's not good, you're in big trouble.
So
I'm
who are
going
you
to
hitting
go
us with here?
with my boy from Striper,
Oh,
Robert Sweet.
he was on my short list, honestly, of drummers to pick. I feel he's super underrated. He really does carry that band.
Super underrated.
Oh my God.
One of my favorite drummers of all time.
Well, Striper's one of my favorite bands of all time, so that's to me, that's a heavy hitting pick also.
Yeah, as our people know here, like we always put Striper over on.
There you go, right there.
There you go. I have one just like it from like 2004 tour or something. When I saw ZO2 on tour.
Yeah, there you go.
2004. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So
All right.
we are on to Mitch. Here we go, buddy. You got 2 picks, so give me the first one first.
All right. Very simply, the man who defines the 80s through his videos and his girlfriend or wife, the one and only, the voice of rock and roll, David Coverdale.
Okay.
Oh wow, okay.
Not a bad choice. He's also a great Twitter follower.
Yeah, I know.
He retweets me quite often, so
Yeah.
I'm very happy. Very happy to pick David. But I mean, you listen to Whitesnake now. They're still delivering. They're still out there doing it. They're still putting out great albums. So the voice.
I can't argue that one. Honestly, he slipped my mind. I didn't even
mine
have
too.
him on my list, so that was cool.
David Coverdale. All right, this one is going to be in fact, I just thought of this one since we're talking about singers and we're talking about the importance of drummers. I'm going to go with a drummer that sings and adds so much to a band and to the sound. I'm going to go with Kelly Keagy from Night Ranger.
Oh wow.
Wow.
That's a double threat right there, because let's say Jack Blades has laryngitis, you still have a show because he's there.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's another band that will fly under the radar.
Yeah.
They're excellent. They're still putting out great music. And for
They're putting out better music now than the 80s.
Than ever, I agree.
100%.
And they're another one that's like, I don't know if it's underrated, but they get shit on for their hits.
Right.
Right? I mean, they're so much better than that.
Yeah.
They
A
really
lot
are.
of people do take, like, if you say you're going to see Night Ranger, they kind of scoff at it. And it's like, do you really listen to them, though? Because they're excellent.
And they're also some of the nicest guys you've ever want to meet. I mean, Kelly and Brad are just absolute, forget the word here, but sweethearts. They're just sweethearts, and they're just nice, and they're a great band, and they're still doing big numbers. So Kelly, that's a double threat right there.
I like it. Are you recording all this?
I'm recording. Yep, I got it written down. You guys recording your own picks too, just so you don't
I got him.
get
Yeah.
lost? Okay, cool. All right, so
I'm not. I'm Canadian. I don't pay attention to this crap.
Yeah, Mitch, I gotta give you props on your first 2 picks. Really well done. I was expecting a lot less from you.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to go with Jizzy Pearl, but then I thought, oh, you mean somebody who actually can sing. Sorry.
Whoa! Shots fired. Jeez. I hope
Edit that
words
out.
out of my
Edit
mouth.
I hope Jizzy isn't listening.
Well, Jizzy, I have it on good authority that he's actually our number 1 listener.
Oh, jeez.
So he's going to
Good.
hear.
What was your number 1 listener?
It's okay.
I guess now it's me.
Now it's you. Yeah.
All right, so we're back to Joey, and you can't take another drummer.
All right. Well, that's not true. I could take
By the
a
way, do
singing
we-
drummer, but I won't.
Oh, that's
Yes,
true.
Mitch.
Do we include keyboards in here? Are we doing
We're
1, 2,
doing-
3, 4, 5 or 1, 2, 3,
We're
4?
doing 5
We're doing-
2 guitar players.
Yeah. If you wanted
5
to
with 2 guitar players. Gotcha.
If you wanted
So we
to
need a
sub
rhythm
out
and a
one of
lead.
your
Okay.
guitar players, I mean, that's on
For
you.
a keyboard, I'll
Yeah.
allow that if you want to do that. That sounds fine.
No,
I won't
was
be doing
I was
that.
just trying to think, like, do I pick Michael Lardy or I don't know, David Bryan? It's like, my keyboard.
So yeah,
My
you might
keyboard
want
hand is not strong. My pimp hand is not strong.
you might want to
Right.
do the dual guitar threat.
Dual guitar. Gotcha.
By the way,
Yes,
real quick, no guitar players taken yet.
No.
Well, as you're about to say that, let's go with the first guitar player off the board. So, when I'm thinking about my band, I'm not just thinking of great players. I'm thinking of songs, too. I want my band to be able to write great songs, sing backing vocals like Mitch just picked. I'm going to go, not the biggest shredder in the world, but to me, one of the most melodic players, especially from this era. Definitely a great songwriter, Richie Sambora.
Oh,
Okay.
Mitch is so mad at you right now.
That's a good pick.
It is a great.
You know, I've been discovering the Richie Sambora solo discography since he's been out of the band, and they're really fucking good.
Honestly,
the first
me
two
too.
Richie Sambora solo records are incredible.
Yeah, I just discovered them in the past 4 months, and I'm impressed with them. Honestly, yeah. There's everyone can go check those out.
Yeah, for sure. All of our listeners, check those out if you haven't. But I think Richie's a super good pick because he's really creative. And I think creativity in a band is super important over, like Joey said, somebody who's just going to shred.
Yeah.
Creativity's got to come first.
Yep. And like he said, he could sing. And he can
absolutely.
definitely solo. He doesn't have to be a shredder. I'm sure there's going to be some shredders taken. And who knows, that could even end up being your rhythm guitarist. Who knows?
Right. Yeah.
So, okay, we're back. We're on to Robbie now.
Oh, it's me.
All you got is Seabass so far.
I'm torn again because now I'm still looking at my drummer list, but I'm also looking at this huge list I wrote of guitar players. I'm going to go with my drummer because I was flipping back and forth, and Joey, you can probably appreciate both of these, that I wasn't sure who I was going to pick, between Blaze Elias and Roxy Petrucci. And I think I'm going to go with Roxy on this one. I think she's a lot of fun. She's got a lot of energy on stage, and she brings a lot to the show. And I think that that's super important. And I also think that she's underrated. If you listen to Vixen, or if you go see Vixen live, or Madam X for that matter, I think Roxy's up there hanging with the best of them, and she's so fun. And I think for that reason, she takes the edge over Blaze.
Yeah, Roxy's a killer drummer. Roxy was up for the David Lee Roth solo band gig. She tried out for the Eat 'em and Smile band.
Yes.
So if you're even trying out for that band, you're amazing.
Absolutely. She did tell me that too, and I think that that's fantastic.
I didn't even know that. That's news to me. That's an interesting pick. I didn't think you were going there.
I told you, man. I got some interesting stuff. I don't think my picks are in danger.
All right. Well, we're on to me. All I got so far is Steve Harris playing the bass, and I said there might be some help later, and this guy's an easy help for me because this guy's going to help craft and write the songs.
So you're just going to pick all of Iron Maiden?
No, okay. I'm not. This guy's going to help craft and write the songs. He's also going to be the rhythm guitar player of my band, solos once in a while, and also provide killer background vocals. That's Paul Stanley, of course.
I know.
How could it not be?
Solid.
How could it not be? Paul Stanley, he's also probably the front man. We'll see who I end up getting as lead singer. But to have Paul Stanley as your second singer, you're in.
You're in good hands.
You are in good hands with Paul Stanley. And then
there's a vicious rumor.
Nowadays he's a good fourth singer in the band.
Very true. Very, very true.
There's a vicious rumor that both Joey and Mitch like Kiss. So, not sure.
What about you?
I heard it on the internet that everybody involved in this podcast right now enjoys Kiss, but it's on the internet, so I don't know if it's true.
And I got the first Kiss guy? Look at that.
Yeah.
And I got the first
I wonder
Kiss
if it's the only Kiss pick, too.
I was just going to say
that is a good question. So I've got...
It might be. I mean, I've already given up my singer and my drummer, so I've got to stick to bass and guitar now. So
Right.
Yeah, so do I go with my lead singer or my lead guitar player or my drummer? If I don't pick my drummer, it's going to piss Joey off, probably.
Yeah, pick your drummer. He's getting antsy.
He is getting antsy over there. But I just got to do it. I'm going the two guitars back and back. This is definitely a shredder. Definitely, Robbie already knows who I'm picking here. I think, out of all the shredders, the crazy shredders in the 80s, they're all great. They're all amazing. But I feel this one also has the most, songwritiness and the most, he can sing, too, somewhat. We're going with Paul Gilbert. We're going back-to-back Pauls. The Paul Stanley and Paul Gilbert connection. And I've said a lot about Paul Gilbert in my time on the podcast.
Would you say that you have your Pauls to the wall?
My Pauls are to the wall right now. Do not laugh at that joke. I made that joke last time.
That's why I brought it up.
And now Joey thinks you're funny.
Unfortunately, I got to give him credit for it. That was a good one.
Now Joey thinks you're funny when it was real me because I'm the star of the show.
This is my show. I had to edit you out whenever.
This is the All Bets Are Off podcast with Robbie Vegas featuring Chaz Stanley. Everybody knows it. So I've got the bass and two guitarists. We're down to Robbie that has, apparently Sugar Daddy or SmackDown. You have your singer and drummer.
Oh,
you have one of the two, the S and the D.
All right, I just want to point out, too, that I don't know if you guys caught this, but I picked Sebastian Bach and Roxy for my first two, and they were both in Madam X together. Oh. So I'm currently just rebuilding Madam X.
Are you going to keep that trend going?
Yeah, I forgot that's Sebastian's band, yeah.
Yeah, you
keeping that trend going?
A very wise move if your band is going to play barbecues.
Yeah. Well.
Shots fired.
Mitch is going to get so much heat for this. No,
I always get heat for this.
I think, oh man, I think I need to pick my bass player.
Okay.
And for that, I'm going Kip Wenger.
Okay.
Nice.
I
You
think
get ballet lessons on the download too. That's great.
Well, you know, he's also a good singer, so I'm thinking in terms of backing vocals for this badass band that I'm building here, and I think it would complement Sebastian Bach. I really do. Not to mention, he is an underrated bass player.
Oh yeah, he was Alice Cooper's bass player before they were even a thing.
Yeah,
people forget about that. Solid choices so far.
Kip is a killer bass player.
Yeah.
Killer.
right.
Yeah.
And he's overlooked because of Beavis and Butthead. But,
fair.
And also an alumni of the show. We've interviewed Kip, and he was a great guy, super intelligent, great interview, and just an all-around great guy. So I think even that kind of maybe even swayed me a little bit.
And bringing sex appeal to the band.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, moving on to Joey. Joey, you've
Well, if
got...
we're talking about sex appeal, I guess I pick myself next.
Yeah.
On what?
As what?
As what?
What was
Excuse
that,
me.
Joey?
Sorry.
Hold on.
A little bit. I got something worse than that after that comment.
We're losing Joey. His feed's breaking up.
Got the COVID. It's terrible.
Let's finish up my guitar duo here. Let's go with. So I'm gonna both of these guys could really trade off lead. I'm gonna go more Richie for the lead because I love his melodic solos. And this guy's one of my. He's a great lead player too, but he has some of my favorite rhythms of all time. And I'm a big rhythm guy. I don't want a lot of shredders. I want crazy foundation. I'm gonna go with Warren DeMartini.
Oh,
Wow.
Nice. Good pick.
Yeah.
It was on my short list.
Yeah, it was on mine too.
Not bad. Not bad.
I like that.
Yeah, again, songs like "You're in Love," those riffs from those early Rat records are just undeniable.
Yeah, I think Rat is a band that people forget kicked the doors down, or helped to kick the doors down for that era, which we all love so much. And I think for that alone, I'm like, Warren's got to be on anybody's list.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to purposely leave Steve Brown on the list because I know Mitch has to take him. It's in his contract. Anytime he does one of these episodes, he must draft Steve Brown from Trickster.
What a friend! What a friend you are.
He might be doing it next for all we know. And I'm going to call Steve out right now because I said, Steve, you should come on my show, and he said I'm not doing podcasts right now. So Steve, we're talking.
No,
about
hold on. I think the real sentence he said I'm not doing podcasts with Mitch LaFont. Did he say that?
That's true. That's true. 'Cause I asked him too, and he said, "No, I got nothing to talk about right now."
Oh, okay, so he heard that I had Mitch on first, and he was like, "Absolutely not."
It is very true. It is very true. He doesn't want to. It's true.
All right,
It's my turn for guitarist, right?
it is. Yeah.
Or whatever. All you've got's a singer and bassist. So unless you want to
He's
please,
got a drummer.
No, I got a drummer. I got a drummer.
sorry, singer and drummer. I wrote bassist. My bad.
Yeah. I got Kelly Keegi.
Yep.
From Night Ranger. I'm going to go with the man that gave us some of the greatest riffs of all time. A man who, when he solos on stage, it's a musical experience. The one, the only, Michael Schenker.
Oh,
Solid pick. Another solid pick.
He's a songwriter. He is a guitar hero. He has traversed the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, and it's tasty. Everything he does is tasty. So
Excellent.
there you go.
you got some underrated, like some under the radar
Yeah, you do.
picks so far. So that's cool too.
Well, you're up again, Mitch.
Well, I'm going to finish this duo then, since I'm up again. We're going to go with the rhythm guitarist. I'm going to take his brother Rudolph.
Whoa!
I'm going to slot the Schenkers in there like they should be in Scorpions right now, and just say, "Here you go, 1 and 2."
Well,
and what's great about it is that after every show, they will fight, and it'll be like a ninja kind of thing. So we've got fighting, we've got guitar skills. There'll be some wrestling. It'll be great.
well, that was actually going to be my question. I know they played on early Scorpions records, but have they done a lot since then together at all?
Together, no. The last time they were together was on, I believe, Love at First Sting.
Jeez. So you'd be reuniting the Schenker brothers. You'd be doing a good service for the world.
Reuniting them.
Service for the world.
And giving the world what the world deserves. Two of the greatest guitar-playing brothers ever back together.
Look
It's
at
a
that.
reunion.
You're a man of the people, Mitch. We appreciate you.
Yep. Yeah, Steve. Yep. Yeah, he snubbed you.
Yeah.
Yep, he did.
Yep. Okay. I'll tell him. You're dead to him. Mitch.
I know. I took Michael Schenker over Steve. It's tragic. It's tragic.
I was just gonna draft everybody from Trickster actually, but I just who's up next?
We're on to Joey now. Joey,
back to me.
You've got drums,
but there's a technicality. Trickster is more of a '90s band.
That is technically true. But we're not talking 80s hairband. We just said hairband, right? We didn't say...
We just said, like,
80s
metal rock. And, like, 80s metal rock to me is, like, 81 to 92. Like, that's, like, 80s. Like, that's how I feel.
Because you can start talking Firehouse and Trickster.
But I'm still reconstituting the Schenker brothers because that is just...
That's big.
Awesome.
That's big time.
Yeah, for sure.
That's big
awesome.
time. Well, we're on Joey. You've got drummer and guitarist.
I'm going to go with my vocalist here. So I got a lot of different vocalists, different genres, different vocal ranges. There was a couple guys I wanted to choose. I was going to go the Ray Gillen route, Badlands. I love Gillen's voice is just phenomenal. But for this genre and
Eric
the band
Martin.
that I'm assembling, I want to build someone that has just melody and, to me, the most important part of all this, songwriting. And that's the guy from this band right here, one of my favorite bands of all time, Mr. Steve Plunkett from Autograph.
Wow.
Oh, he was great as the Raiders quarterback. He was so good.
That's a different Steve Plunkett, Mitch.
Not the same Plunkett? Oh, because he was so exciting to watch every Sunday.
No, you meant Steve Plunkett from, like, the Calgary Rough Riders, right? Is that who you meant?
Oh, was there one with the Rough Riders?
But Autograph, to me, it's one of those bands. Never got its due, still doesn't get its due. I know they're still touring with maybe one or two original members, but Steve Plunkett to me was always the heart of that band. I know he went on to do great things. He did a lot of TV jingles and theme songs for TV shows. His voice and his songwriting ability was so overlooked in that era. I know Turn Up the Radio was a big hit for them, but after that, and I think it had to do with their look, Steve Plunkett unfortunately had this giant head of red hair, curly red hair that I don't think MTV was very fond of. So, I think they got overlooked with that whole group of 80s bands.
Everything you just said about them reminds me of, like, what I would say also about, like, Y&T and Dave Meniketti and everything. Because I always hold both of those bands, like, in the same regard in my head for some reason. I think you just explained it well and why.
Yeah.
And he's a very, like, I never even thought of it, but he is a fantastic singer. So, like, that was a good pull. I was glad to hear something different like that.
And you don't want to retract and say Eric Martin.
Eric was on my list. If someone would have taken him, I would have gotten Eric. But Eric, to me, again, is a little later. Eric is, listen, I play with Eric now, one of my favorite vocalists, period, of all time.
Yes, absolutely.
But for this genre, I think Eric would almost be overqualified.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's fair. I'm not
exactly Steve Brown. That's what I was thinking.
No, you can't say ditto on that, you bastard.
He's overqualified.
Well, I mean, and
that's true.
And that was great.
And that's why I won't be picking PJ Farley as my bassist. He's just, it's not fair to me.
Underqualified?
Overly qualified. Not fair.
Well, I can still get away with Paul Gilbert because of Racer X, though. So I'm still good with the Paul Gilbert.
Hey, I'm not going to argue about Eric Martin's vocals because he's fantastic.
Trust me, if you guys don't think he's a good singer out there, just try it. And then you'll see. Over to you, Robbie.
I'm up.
Mm-hmm. You got both guitar players.
Both guitar players I got left.
And I got none to steal from you, so you can
right.
take a breath, feel confident.
I think both of my picks are safe, and I'm going with my very first one being Vito Bratta.
Yes.
Vito's good. We like the Vito.
We do. He's underrated, and I think White Lion in general is underrated, and I think if they hit a little earlier, I think they would have been huge, but I think they came so late in it. But I mean, just that whole band was fantastic, but Vito is, in my opinion, I'm going to get a lot of hate tweets for this, but is up there with Eddie Van Halen. I think he's fantastic.
Wait, you said they were underrated? Tell me about that. Look at that.
Do you listen to the podcast?
Don't make these children cry, Mitch. What are you doing?
There is life after a broken heart.
Two titles in one little thing. Yeah, that's perfect.
There is life after a broken heart. So even though
there is.
I'll just wait.
I don't know if you guys ever read the Nothing But a Good Time book, but I had just finished it, and there's a great section on White Lion in there how they were almost lyrically too smart for their time. They weren't singing about having a good time and drinking and having orgies, they were singing about starvation and
Yes.
political stuff. So they feel like they got boxed into this little area where they were taken too seriously.
Oh, 100%. I read the book too, and I thought that was spot on. And actually, Mike Tramp was my second pick if one of you guys took Bach before I could get to him, because great vocalist, great lyricist, great on stage, and there's nothing bad I could say about the guy. And he was severely underrated, and I do agree that was one of the reasons, because he wasn't Mr. Party all the time. He was like, take a look at these real things that happen to people, and I don't think they were ready for that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like grunge before grunge almost.
I mean, he did kind of try and go the grunge route a little bit later on after White Lion, but...
Freak of Nature was good.
And I thought
it
they were
wasn't
good.
grunge. It was more like dirty rock.
Yeah, that's true. He had that look, though, too, like when the real dark Eddie Vedder kind of thing going on. But,
but he adapts. I mean, when he was in Mabel, he looked like ABBA, so...
I gotta say, though, his solo albums are all fantastic. Every single one of them. So.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's awesome. So your pick was Vito.
Vito, yes. My pick was not Mike Tramp.
So I've got drummer and vocalist to go. Coincidentally, what I started doing in my career. Drumming and vocaling.
Yes.
Vocaling.
And vocaling, of course. And nobody's picked Joe yet, so he's on the table.
I know, but just to egger him, I can't go. I can't go with Joey. I got to go with
Mitch.
With Mitch as the drummer. Mitch can probably play the drums. No, there's a lot of good things still out there. Does everyone have their drummers? Everyone has their drummers.
Yeah. I'm only missing a bass player.
So here's a name that
I've got three in my head, and I'm going, which one? What door number one?
Well,
door number two?
Here's a couple of drummers that weren't that I'm not taking, that were like out there that could be picking. And I know this one's blasphemy, especially probably for Mitch. But what about Neil from Rush? That could be one for sure, right? Mm-hmm. And then we've got, for us kiss marks here, we got Eric Carr. Mm-hmm. And Eric Singer.
Eric Singer was on my list if somebody picked one of mine.
But this one could go very controversial. I'm going with Tommy Lee.
He's on mine too.
I'm going with Tommy Lee because, I don't know, Tommy Lee, much like my number 2 pick would have been where Joey went with Robert Sweet, but like Tommy Lee is very creative, I feel, like that. And it was just, and just like, yeah, he's going to bring a lot of heat to the band.
Yeah, of course.
He's going to bring a lot of eyes to the band, you know?
And if your band wants to go to rap so they can get on the radio,
I'm set.
Right there for you.
So I already got to step up on you guys for my band to last into the 90s. I'm already there. And if we want to make porn, it's over for you guys.
That's right.
Done. It's over. So definitely Tommy Lee is there. And then for my singer, would you believe me, Mr. Frontman over here picks his singer last because nobody was going to think of taking him. And he's going to be paired well with Paul Stanley doing backgrounds and Paul Gilbert doing backgrounds and Tommy Lee swinging his dick in the background. This is, I think, one of the best singers of all time. Of Ronnie James Dio is my singer, everybody. And that guy is fronting my band with Paul Stanley. He's bringing... There's not much more of a powerful vocalist. Yeah, you can throw out names in the metal world. You can throw out names like, you can go Iron Maiden, you could go Judas Priest, you can go all that stuff. But for me, the mix of the power and the soul and just the way he brings it, you can hear on every song he pours his heart into it. I'm talking about as far back as, I didn't listen to a lot of Elf, but as far back as Rainbow, till his like 2005 and 6 releases, that man just poured his heart and soul into every song, and one of the greatest singers of all time, Ronnie James Dio.
Great pick.
Yeah, can't argue that pick at all. Dio's amazing. Tommy Lee too, going back to that, super underrated drummer. Great pick.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm happy with my band. We'll go over our bands at the end, but we're moving on to Robbie now.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm going with the second Kiss pick of the day.
Oh.
And also the Grand Funk Railroad pick because I'm going Bruce Kulick for my second guitar player. I, again, think that Bruce is fantastic. I think he can shred if he wants to, but I also think that he's just great overall. Doesn't need to be a shredder to be good. And, I mean, he's up there with Vito Bratta in my band, so we don't really need somebody who can go nuts next to him. But at the same time, you could do some dueling guitar solo stuff, and I think it would be great.
That'd be sweet.
And they almost look alike, so...
They kind of do, yeah.
You'd have that twin guitar thing going on. That's kind of cool.
I like it.
When you said Kiss guitar player, I know Mitch assumed you were going Vinnie Vincent.
Absolutely.
I did. Of course.
Well, he's still there for Mitch. No.
Yeah.
No, I'm done with my guitars. I've only got a bass player to go.
You keep screwing up everything that Mitch has picked.
Well, I don't know. I don't speak Canadian. I can't.
Oh.
It's all been in French.
It's hard to understand.
By the time this podcast hits like Apple and Spotify and all that, we'll have translated Mitch.
Okay.
And it'll sound like it's in English.
It's true. It's true. Bonjour, everybody. Bonjour. Comment allez-vous?
All right, Joey, what are you filling out with here?
All right, so all I have left is bass 2, obviously the least important position in the band. But I'm going to go with a...
Have you ever seen a bass solo?
I'm going to go... So my band is a little fluffy right now. We got a lot of pop sensibilities, a little soft, a little on the softer side. I'm going to rough it up a little bit with this guy. They don't call him the Animal for nothing. We're going to go with Mark the Animal Mendoza.
Nice.
That's a solid pick, too.
Oh, yeah.
We're not going to take that pick. We're not gonna take it.
Oh, I love it. Is that your pick, Mitch?
We're not going to take it. Can't take it.
So I don't know if you guys know, I actually just did a song with Mark and Richard Fortas from Guns N' Roses and Militia Vox. We just did a Cactus song for a live stream foundation, the David Z Foundation, my old bass player, and it came out killer. Mendoza is, again, one of those guys. I assume no one was going to grab Mendoza. He's so underrated. If you ever, when you hear him on the Twisted Records, it's it's pretty basic stuff. But when you see him live and you see him go Google or YouTube this Cactus song that we did called Evil. He is insane on the bass. Tone, feel, aggression, everything you want from a bass player.
And then, I've said this before, and then Robbie got into it recently, that Twisted's super underrated at, every position, too. They just think of D and his outfits and his hair and all that stuff, but that guy can sing. The guitar players are great. The rhythm section's great. When I think of... I think it was Mendoza, though, in the one, with some kind of Twisted Sister documentary. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, Joey. But he, came in with a gun and put it on the amp and pointed it towards D. That's all I think of.
Yeah, I think that was the We Are Twisted Fucking Sister documentary.
That's all I think of, is he put it on the amp and pointed it at D. I was like, oh, shit. He means business. And he means business, so that's a good bass player to pick.
Yeah.
Solid. I dig it.
Isn't he a cop, or wasn't he training to be a cop, or... There's a cop something in his life, right?
Yeah, I forget. I think maybe he used to be, maybe like a trooper. I forget what... Yeah, you're right, Mitch. I forget exactly the story behind that.
Yeah. So he knows how to use that gun.
Yeah. Well, I think part of the reason he was underrated, too, is because Dee's personality is so big. I think a lot of the guys got overlooked because Dee's attitude and everything was what people thought of when they thought of Twisted Sister. Not that the guys weren't talented. It was just that this guy's a fucking wild man.
Yeah, and their biggest record, look at Stay Hungry, he's on the cover. Yeah, it's not even the band, it's D. So it's, he was the face of Twisted.
Yeah, agreed.
Enjoying some alleged human flesh.
Yes, yes. We're talking, we've talked about a lot of alumni of this show, and I'm very happy about this.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we're up to Mitch for the end.
Well, we're going to go to, since at the end, we're going to talk about the foundation of the band, which is bass. You need bass to have that thing, and the guy gave us the bass line in Sweet Emotion, Tom Hamilton.
Wow.
You can't beat Tom Hamilton. Now, that said, I did have Tom Peterson and Billy Sheehan in my head as backups, but Tom Hamilton, you just hear doom, doom, doom. You just hear that Sweet Emotion.
Yeah.
Come on. Joey Kramer and Tom Hamilton have made every single Aerosmith song. That rhythm section that drives every song, you can't beat that. You can sit there and say, oh, Steven Tyler and Joe Perry, but you take Tom out and you take Joey Kramer out and you replace them with two other schmucks, Aerosmith never happens. Period.
I do agree with that. And I also, when I hear Sweet Emotion, I think of the opening scene of Dazed and Confused with the car coming through the parking lot.
Well, here's something I found interesting, and we'll go over the bands in a minute, but some of the biggest 80s bands around are not represented on here.
No.
The one that was close to being represented for me, I would have put Cliff Burton on for bass somewhere. But no Metallica representation, no Def Leppard.
Neither Van Halen, brother?
No Van Halen, no Def Leppard, no Poison.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of all went with underrated, under the radar kind of people, and it's cool though because a lot of those guys were kind of the better musicians that just kind of snuck on by because maybe the personalities weren't as big.
Right.
Well, I went with more meat and potato choices, and if you look at, for example, the Schenker brothers, I mean, the Scorpions undeniably were huge in the 80s, and Rudolph was certainly part of that. And of course, you look at Michael, here's a guy who gave us Dr. Doctor, who gave us Rock Bottom, who gave us all that UFO stuff, and if you go back to the early Scorpions and early UFO, that's what Eddie Van Halen copied. So Eddie Van Halen was a Schenker fan first. So Schenker and Rudolph are just a great foundation. Tom Hamilton, not a big sexy pick, and he's not flashy. He's not on all the posters on your wall. But you listen to Walk This Way. You listen to Sweet Emotion. You listen to even Dude Looks Like a Lady. Just that. It's right. It's perfect. And David Coverdale. I mean, come on. I mean, everybody thinks of the 80s. They think of the girl on the whatever, the Jaguar, whatever the car was, and they think of those videos. I mean, he was the face of the 80s. And yes, we love John Bon Jovi, and yes, we love Bret Michaels, but you see that girl on that car, and you go, that's the 80s.
And
that's true.
And it's also arguably he's the best singer that Deep Purple had, but that's a different argument for a different.
I mean, here's a guy who gave us Burn.
Yeah.
And then gave us Still of the Night. I mean, what, you're going to argue? Come on. That's top quality. And, of course, Kelly Keagy, he's there to add that extra vocal because, in case you need a little extra sweetness on those vocals.
A little sauce. A little extra sauce.
Well, Mitch just broke down his band. Why don't you break down your band, Joey?
Yeah, I mean, I went kind of the same route. A lot of these really crazy musicians like the Van Halen brothers and stuff, they're good at what they do, but I don't know if they can function outside of just what they do. A guy like Eddie Van Halen is so good in Van Halen writing his riffs. If my other guitar player, Richie Sambora, comes in with a riff, I don't know if Eddie plays it right. He plays it like Eddie. Right. And, I wanted more of a band that was going to have their own sound rather than just be another Van Halen or another, with Billy Sheehan on bass. It's Billy on bass. I wanted to form a band and most importantly, have great songwriting. And, that's why I went with Steve Plunkett. Steve Plunkett not only has one of the most underrated voices, I think, songwriting-wise, pop sensibilities, that's what, to me, music is. Music, to me, is all about melody and groove. And without any of that, I don't care about speed and power and all that stuff. That stuff can come later. If you don't have melody and groove, I think you lose what music is supposed to be. And with
what happens if you don't have melody and groove? You have Nirvana. You're pretty right.
Mitch, I gotta tell you, I never noticed. Come a little closer. Your eyes are dreamy.
They are, I must say.
See these things?
They are.
I would marry Mitch if the opportunity presented itself, just based on him leaning forward.
In the 80s, I didn't need a personality to meet anybody. I had these.
I don't think either of us are allowed to cross the border right now, so it's a whole big thing, and it's just, it'll be tough.
Mitch, if I could shave my head and give it to you, I would. You would be dynamite.
I was going to say, just put Joey's hair on Mitch, and that's it. But he beat me to it.
And look at that. I even brought lip balm for you, Joey. I made sure I had
I always balm up right before any interview.
It's a total shame that the fans are not seeing this, so they're only hearing this right now.
Right, definitely. Well, let's break down your band.
You are videotaping it, so do throw it up on YouTube.
I will. After,
we should. Yeah.
I'm going to put this one. I'm going to eventually put the Dee Snider one up, too, but I wanted to get the Apple and Spotify plays going first.
Well, let's break down your band. Host, Robbie's host. Let's see what he's got.
Yeah, so, I mean, my band...
Well, wait, tell your band, too.
So, I went Sebastian Bach for the singer, Kip Winger on bass, Roxy Petrucci on drums, and then Vito Bratta and Bruce Kulick on guitars. And I went for both talent and the look. I think that, I've said this on the show before, Sebastian Bach just looks like somebody. He's a star. Like, when he walked into a room in the 80s, you were like, who the fuck is that guy? And I kind of wanted that for my lead singer because he should be commanding the crowd in that way. When he walks out on stage, the whole crowd should stop and go, these guys are probably going to be really fucking good. And that's like the what I think Sebastian brings. And if he's not really fucking good that night, he's going to piss you off and you're going to go home talking about him. Either way, you're going home going, man, that first fucking band, that guy was either amazing or he was a complete asshole and he was amazing. Either way, I'm in full support of anything that Bach does. So that's why I went with him. And Kip Winger, underrated bass and also an underrated singer. Mm-hmm. He's a great songwriter. He's a composer. He's not just this 80s hair metal guy. Like, he can compose classical music. Like, if you really sit down, with a guy like that, you're going to write great songs. And if you throw in somebody like Vito Bratta, who is already a great songwriter, and pair him up with somebody like Kip Winger, I can only imagine the stuff that you're going to come up with in a room like that. And when I threw in Bruce Kulick, I was thinking like Revenge era Bruce Kulick. Like he had that cool look. Like,
and you need somebody to do interviews for you.
There you go. And then, of course, Roxy ties it all together because, like I said, she's a complete badass. She's also a sweetheart, but she could really go. And she has a lot of experience with Sebastian, so I think that if he got out of hand, she'd rope his motherfucking ass right back in, and the band could continue and go on with their business. And I don't know. I think if this band right here put out an album, I would be the first one in line to buy it. I'm happy with my picks, and none of you guys even went for any of them, like I thought. So I'm happy.
Yeah, I pretty much got the band that I wanted to draft. I went with Steve Harris on bass, the twin Paul guitar attack of Paul Stanley, Paul Gilbert, Tommy Lee, and Ronnie James Dio. I guess mine is a little lesser on the 80s, like, hair metal scene, but it's just hard to argue. I mean, I would love to see what kind of music Steve Harris and Paul Stanley could come up with together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's two of my favorite bands of all time. They're tattooed on my body. Like,
and they toured together in the early 80s. So.
Right.
And imagine if they wrote music. Oh, it'd be so good. And then, like, I noticed we all, like, did this. We all put thought into this and went with like songwriting and pop sensibilities and things like that, and singing. Like everybody talked about, I drafted this musician because he could sing as well. And I did that with Paul Stanley. It's a little cheat. He's a cheat code. He's a cheat code in there, but like, Paul Gilbert sings pretty well too. So like to get them all in there, like just, I can just imagine like some kind of like back and forth like Kiss song with Paul and Gene, with Paul and Dio. Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah. Right.
That'd be the most epic thing in the entire world to me. And like literally if I wrote down the band I was going to draft, it was this band completely. Nobody stole my picks. You took some of my number twos. But, so I am so happy with it. And I guess we'll have to see what the listeners think about our drafts.
Can you just imagine Paul and Dio together? The stage banter would be something like this. It would be, all right, people, this next song's about dragons.
You know what? My band would be, well, at least with those two guys, I'd have a pretty hairy band.
Yeah.
There'd be a lot of chest hair, a lot of tall.
I do got to say, though, I did go with a little bit of sex appeal in my band, too, because I did think that was pretty important back then. So
you went with sex appeal, and neither I or Joey are on his list. All right, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell you're thinking.
Hey, I drafted Tommy Lee, so I've got real sex appeal, baby.
You got your balls to the wall, I'm telling you.
Balls
to the wall, baby.
Well, guys, before we wrap this up, is there anybody who, you had as, like, backup plans, like, honorable mentions that anybody wants to throw out there?
I did. For drummer, I was going to go in an underrated mode and stick with, like, Bobby Blotzer, because he really is essential to the Rat sound. Mm-hmm. He's got a swing and he's got a drive. He can do both. So I would have gone there. Bass players, like I said, I probably would have gone Tom Hamilton. Not Tom Hamilton, Tom Peterson of Cheap Trick, because you bring a 12-string bass to the party, all of a sudden your songs have a whole new dimension. So I would have gone there. Mm-hmm. Singers, I was focused on Coverdale, but I probably would have gone Klaus Meine.
Oh yeah.
After. Because, also as I was thinking about this, I'm thinking, all right, I got to pick great people, but I got to pick people that nobody else is picking, so that my picks actually get to be my picks. So I had David and Klaus lined up as 80s guys.
Okay, cool. How about you, Joey?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, I had Ray Gillen for my other vocalist. Just one of my favorite singers of all time. That first... It's really all the Badlands records, but that first Badlands record especially is so dynamite. I mean, obviously he did his work in Sabbath and stuff too, but Ray has such a powerhouse voice, such a range. But like I said, it's almost like a little too much for the band that I put together. He would have just changed the dynamic completely. Would have been a completely different band. Then, bass playing wise, I'm thinking songwriting wise too. Nicky Sixx would have been another pick of mine. Maybe not the greatest bass player of all time, but all the songs in Motley Crue, he's the integral songwriter out of all of them, so he would have been there. And I got to give props to Eric Carr on drums. He would have been up there for me, too, an underrated drummer. I would have loved to see Eric get the chance, if the Kiss reunion happened and Eric wasn't part of that. I would have loved to see where Eric went. I would have loved to see what Eric could do inside of one of these other bands after all these years, I'm sure Eric would have been somewhere, whether it was with Rat or, you know what I mean? I would love to see Eric inside one of these other groups. Amazing. That looks killer.
Like that, yeah, I'm showing him my Eric card.
By the way, Joey, in 96, assuming Eric hadn't passed away, what happens? Do they bring Peter Criss back and throw Eric out after 15 years? Yeah. Or do they somehow do a double drum? No, they throw him out?
Way. I think at the very best, they definitely get rid of Eric. Peter comes back. And then maybe when Peter leaves, it happens the same way. Instead of Eric Singer, they bring Eric back. Maybe as the Fox. I would hope as the Fox, not as, forcing Eric to wear Peter's makeup.
Can you imagine?
But, yeah, I think that's what would have happened. I don't think the loyalty, at that time, Kiss would have been in the same position as they were, and they were nobody in 94, 95. They needed that reunion, and Eric had no part of it.
No,
I would have been tough on the fans, though. I would have been like, oh, you threw him out after 15 years? Yeah. No, would have been 16 years.
Well, they did it with Bruce. Yeah. What was it, 13 years at the time or whatever? Yeah. So they did it with Bruce. No problem.
Yeah. I had always read rumors, too, and I think Ace kind of said the same types of things. In 89, they approached Ace for a possible reunion, but with Eric, not Peter. Because Peter was still really on the outs then, I guess. So, who knows? I would have loved to have seen it happen.
Well, yeah, he was living down on the beach somewhere, right? As a homeless person.
Coming on Donahue.
So, a couple names that I threw out there that, weren't picked. Like Cliff Burton, obviously. I think everyone knows how good he is on bass. I think a singer that we all missed out on, and a cheat code, because he's a guitar player too, is Michael Sweet.
I actually have him on my short list.
So Michael Sweet could be in any of these bands on any position. And he's a cheat code. I just went with Paul instead.
Yeah.
That's what I want to throw out. What about you? The rest of White Lion?
All of White Lion.
And Madam X.
Yeah, that's right. I definitely think that Janie Lane could have been anybody's singer. Just in terms of frontman, vocalist, and songwriter, he would be absolutely incredible in anybody's band. We kind of already covered all my drummers earlier, but as far as bass players go, I went with backups in Rachel Bolan, Rudy Sarzo, Duff McKagan. I thought all of those guys would have been anybody's pick. And then as far as guitarists, though, Nuno, Oz Fox, threw him out there.
Right. We are striper marks, aren't
we? We are. Even Eric Turner, I think, would have been a great guitar pick. Creative and fun. So those were just a few of my honorable mentions, just in case you guys did snake one of mine.
Yeah, I love Michael Sweet. The only reason I don't go, the reason why I don't go some of those routes is when you put Michael Sweet in the band, it becomes Stryper. It's Stryper. He's going to make it sound like Stryper. That's why I didn't go Eddie Van Halen. I don't care what he does, it's going to sound like Eddie Van Halen inside some other band. I wanted to make my own band, and if I put Michael with Robert on the other end, it's just Stryper.
Yeah. Wow.
So this is your band, and you're like the cowbell player for your band? Is that what this is?
I'm the manager. I'll gladly sit back and reap the rewards from this band.
Awesome.
There you go.
I was going to go Brad Gillis on guitar, but since I had a chance to do the dual brothers, I couldn't resist. But had they been split up, I wouldn't have gone. I would have gone somewhere else. But
I think everybody had really creative picks, honestly. And I think that, Joey, your next top 5 should be top 5 with Joey Casada, bands that I would manage.
Well, we did, not that long ago, we actually did a band draft. It was our ultimate band, 5 band members. It was very similar to this. It wasn't just 80s or this genre. So it was, who would our ultimate band be? And I think my band was... And again, across the gamut, everything. I think I had Ray Gillen. I think I had Prince and Eddie Van Halen as my guitar players. Nice. Paul McCartney was my bass player. Bonham was my drummer. And I had Billy Joel on keys.
Wow. I just saw Billy Joel a couple weeks ago here in Buffalo. He was awesome. It was good. It was a good time.
Yeah,
I listened to that show. I would have had Don Johnson as my singer.
You guys keep leaving out Steve Brown.
Yeah,
and,
it's true.
He's the president.
No,
of the band.
we covered that already. They were too good for this podcast. We said that we would have picked them, but they were overqualified.
You're right.
Me and Mitch, we did the right thing. We scored some brownie points.
We don't talk Steve Brown on the Robbie Vegas podcast. We keep that for the Eddie Trunk show. Let's be honest.
There's a lot of shots being fired today, and it equals ratings.
That's why most people hate me. That's probably why.
Nope, that's why you're coming back.
That's right.
Yeah.
I can see the blabbermouth headline already, Mitch. Mitch LaFon calls Steve Brown too good for Robbie Vegas podcast.
It's true.
I'll be looking for it.
Yeah. Which, if Steve's too good, my next question is, does that mean PJ's on next week? Is he your guest next week?
Yes, I did. I reached out, and he also said no. But
that's what I call it. PJ's on the road with our buddy Chris Jericho right now.
I'm going to see him tonight. I'm going to see them tonight.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes. They're here in Buffalo.
Are you doing the meet and greet?
No, sold out too fast. And I bought this. This was a ticket I bought in February of 2020.
Joey will text him. Don't worry.
I'll text him. Just wait outside. I'll say this weird guy with a beard wants to come in. Let him in.
There'll be plenty of those. So he'll be confused.
Yep. So what I'm going to do is we'll give him Robbie Vegas business cards, and we'll be like, just show him one of these. Get right in. Put in a little lanyard like Wayne's World, and just.
Do you know I haven't seen a show since March of 2020?
Really? The last show I saw before lockdown was actually Kiss and David Lee Roth in Buffalo. That was in February. And then the lockdown happened. So I got to a couple this summer.
But there's been nothing in Montreal. I don't even have a opportunity to go.
You'd only be able to see Canadian bands, right? Because nobody could come in.
Yeah, but even then...
April Wine.
There's nobody. Yeah, April Wine and Honeymoon Suite played last weekend. Huge festival out in Calgary or somewhere. Sold out like 12,000 people.
Jeez.
Those two bands, people always they go, oh, April Wine and Honeymoon Suite. It's like, yeah, come to Canada. You'll see 10,000 fucking people.
It's the only bands that can play Canada right now. We can't get in there.
Well, let me tell you guys a little story about my first concert since the pandemic. Is I buy tickets to see Enough's Enough and Faster Pussycat. And I'm like, this is going to be fun because I love Enough's Enough. They're another one of those underrated bands that flew under the radar. Mm-hmm. Saw them live before. I couldn't wait to see them. So I get to the show, and like 3 hours after doors open, nobody's played yet. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I'm looking at my buddy, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. This cover band comes out on stage and plays, like Dio and Poison and Motley Crue and all this stuff. And then Faster Pussycat comes on. And I'm like, I bought tickets for Enough's Enough. Are they the headliner? And somebody that was working there was like, no, they didn't come. And I was like, so nobody was going to say anything? I'm just sitting here.
I know their bus had broken down. Is that when that happened?
It may have, but this was it was 4th of July weekend, I think.
That's fine.
So
I think it's when their bus broke down. If you look online, I bet you it is, because I think they played Jersey. I was supposed to go right around 4th of July, and I remember hearing after that show their bus broke down.
It was same. It was that same weekend, yes, because they were posting pictures of something in Jersey. I remember that.
Yes,
and we were the next show. And then
then it's the bus that broke down.
And
they
then
had
of course,
a legitimate excuse.
Faster Pussycat went on, and they're Faster Pussycat.
Yeah, we have our thoughts about them, but that's for another podcast.
But listen, if you guys want to get backstage to Fozzy tonight, just bring one of these and show Chris Jericho and say, please, Chris, can you sign my favorite book ever? He will let you in just to slap you in the face.
I would, Chris Jericho gets talked about more on this show than any of our guests, and one of these days he's going to realize that and be like, all right, fine, let's just do this.
Well, to give the guy his due, we loved him for his wrestling forever, and when Fozzy came out, they were kind of jokey with the covers. They're a pretty damn good band now. I seen them a couple of years ago, and they just like I didn't hear them for a while, but now coming out with Judas, and they're good. I'm excited to go see them tonight. Yeah, I really am.
Judas is one of my favorite songs.
You know why I love Chris Jericho? Because he's a Winnipeg Jets fan, and it's just so adorable. So adorable.
Well, you're talking to Sabres fans, obviously, so we're losers big time the past 15 years.
Free Eichel. Hashtag free Eichel.
Well, guys, thank you both for being here. I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun, and I will think of another creative way to get the four of us back here to do this again. But Mitch keeps texting me on the side saying, my back hurts, we got to end this, I got to get up.
My back does hurt. But I haven't texted you.
But thank you, guys. I really appreciate you both.
Thank you.
Cheers. No, boys, thanks for having us. This was fun.
Well, we will see you guys whenever next time is. Yeah. I'm sure this guy will think of something because he'll be like, I know what's great for Joey and Mitch.
I'm the creative mind here.
I get the interviews and he comes up with the fun stuff.
It's the way to do it.
All right, guys. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Later, boys.
Hey, Robbie, I want to ask you a question before everybody leaves.
Absolutely.
I've been changing a little bit of what I do on Twitter. Is that coming across as okay or just really boring?
No, you're one of my favorite people to follow, if I'm being honest, and I know Joey's going to give me the stink eye right now for saying that. But,
no comment.
But honestly,
hey,
no.
I do 9 million Twitter impressions per month. 100 million a year,
Very nice.
It comes across well.
But I've gone like through all these Billboard magazines and took screenshots and shit. And I'm trying to update it because I'm looking at all these other ones doing on this day. Mm-hmm. And I went, well, I can either be an on this day guy who's just part of the pack, or I can rise above the pack or create a new pack. So I'm trying something different, and I'm just asking, does it resonate? Is it boring?
Guys, I don't mean to cut. I got to run quick. I got a call coming in.
All right, see you, Joey.
See you, Joey. No, it comes across well, Mitch, honestly, and I would keep doing it. I enjoy it, and actually, since we're still recording, if you want to plug your Twitter just like you did last time and throw that out there for everybody before you get going, go for it.
Yeah, well, you can follow me on Twitter at Mitch Lafon, MITCHLAFON. 30,000 people do, and thank you for that, by the way, because it means a lot. It really does. I enjoy that.
Did you also want to plug Joey since he just said fuck off and took off?
he showed us.
Does he have a Twitter?
He showed us a phone with his lock screen and said, "I got a call coming in."
I think he showed us the Trickster playlist actually. I don't know what Joey. Do I even follow Joey?
We're just gonna assume it's Joey Casada at Joey Casada.
That's terrible. I do follow him. Yes, look at that. At Joey Casada. On Twitter. So there you go. But
well, we should plug Joey's show because Wrestling with Joey Licious just had Jake the Snake on his newest episode, which is available on Amazon Prime, and it is a really great show. And if you're an indie wrestler like I am, you could appreciate the realness of it, but also the comedy. And if you're a wrestling fan, you could still appreciate it. So check that out. And I say that begrudgingly because he bailed on us.
I know, we're doing all the hard work for him.
I was going to let him plug all this stuff, but he flashed his blank phone at us and, shut the camera off. So.
And we have video evidence.
He's like, I've got my Dua Lipa playlist. Oh, sorry. I mean a phone call. And it's funny because he's now texting me pictures and stuff, and it's just terrible.
Of Steve Brown?
Anyway. Of Steve, yeah. Oh, look at that. They were in a shower together. That's terrible.
We'll post that out on Mitch's Twitter later, folks.
Yes. And when Mitch posts it, we'll share it on the podcast Twitter just to make sure it circulates around.
Yes, all right. So you like the new direction in the Twitter feed?
I do.
I'm trying to figure out if it's just too nerdy.
No, I think it's interesting, especially if you're a huge music. Well,
yeah, what do you attract? I think you attract 80% nerdy music guys. That's
I think so.
That's what you're.
And that's what I like. And
yeah, I mean that's what you are, right?
I want it to have a personality.
That's. I mean, you're a nerdy music guy? So are we.
Listen, I'm surrounded by CDs and guitar picks and all kinds of shit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm having a struggle right now with the podcast Instagram and the podcast Twitter because I'm trying to find out how to gain followers with the things that we talk about on this show, which is rock and roll, professional wrestling, and horror movies. And I get the core people that just see that and they're like, "Oh, cool, follow," but it needs to be more engaging than that. So I know exactly what you're saying.
Well, it has to be engaging. I look at at some of the other on this day stuff, and they'll post something, and they might have 50,000 followers, more than me. And they'll get one retweet and one like, and it's like, well, that's not engaging. You have to, So I take the time to answer back. Mm-hmm. I compose it in a way that you're either going to say yeah, or you're going to say fuck you. I'm going to tell you to fuck you. Yeah, it's fine. I don't care. Tell me I'm full of shit. I don't care.
I agree. I totally agree.
Boost my analytics.
No, you do it right. That's your clientele. You always come across as that's why I was like, I never talked to you before, but I've been following you for so long. I knew I could make fun of you for being Canadian. I knew I could make fun of you for a Bon Jovi.
I don't care.
We know who you are.
Yeah, you know what? To be serious for a second, I did a master's in psychology, and I don't have this personal stuff. I'm Mitch. You either like Mitch or you don't like Mitch. That's your problem. Mm-hmm. I don't sit around going, oh my God, what? Give me a break. And I don't mean that to be arrogant, but I just don't have that. I see people fight. Go, how dare you say Iron Maiden sucks? Blah blah blah. It's like, listen, I like Maiden. I don't care. You don't like him? That's okay. Good.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I mean, it would
I like Nickelback. Oh, they're horrible.
Well,
Okay, to you. Okay.
You're Canadian, so that's what happens up there.
You like Nickelback up there.
That's what happens.
Well, I'll tell you just real quick on the Nickelback thing. When Silver Side Up came out, EMI had phoned me to do an interview with them, but this was before the singles came out. This was before, How You Remind Me was about to go to radio. It hadn't gone to radio yet.
Like 2001, right? That's a long time.
2001, and I had a chance to interview them, and they were so incredibly nice. I mean, we were backstage at Musique Plus, actually, and then we went over from Musique Plus, which is the French Much Music, or the French MTV. We went over to the venue, and they let me go over, and they offered catering, and the EMI was all there, and we took a picture, and I've posted that picture a couple of times. They were just exceptionally nice. There was absolutely nothing, and they were nobody, so it was kind of cool to interview somebody who was a nobody, who is now a 50 million album seller. So my connection to them is not just the music. My connection to them is I knew them as the underdog, and now they're fucking world champions.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
and so I'm like, I was there. I interviewed them.
I never heard, honestly.
Not that what I did made a big difference in their career. Let's not kid ourselves. But it was just nice they were so ordinary Canadian dudes talking about a love of music. And I got to interview them a couple of times after that as the success started to... and they were just ordinary Canadians. Like, they were your brother. They were your cousin. They were the next door grocer. They never came... even as they became 20 million sellers, and they didn't become assholes.
Yeah.
They were just the guys in Nickelback.
Right.
Yeah, I never heard anyone say anything actually bad about them. Just fans, but people that, because they don't like their music. But anybody, like... that know them or met them, I've never heard anyone say that they're douches.
Honestly, I have Silver Side Up, and I've seen Nickelback in concert 3 or 4 times, and it's a great show.
It's a great show. So yeah, I talk about them and stuff, but it's because of that early connection of I knew them before they were famous kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, anyway, listen, I got a dog that's running around who I think needs to go pee, so let me wrap up on that. It's the dog... so I'm going to flash my dog, and then I'm going to hold up a cat, just like Joey. Oh, meow! Oh, sorry. All right. Good night, folks.
Cheers.
Thanks, Mitch. Thank you.
I'm going to go take some fucking Advil for my back, too.
I knew it.
Bonsoir.
Rest up, bud. Thank you.
See ya.
All right, rockers, so we hope that you enjoyed that. Chaz, this was your brainchild. So did it come out the way you wanted?
Dude, I got the exact band I wanted. Like 100%.
No, I mean the show as a whole.
I don't care about the show. I care about me.
Son of a bitch.
I care about me. I want the votes. I want people to vote for me. That's fun because, I don't know if it made it in there, but, I have followed Mitch forever. And even when you got him on, of course, without me. And it was just surprising that you had him on. And I've listened to him since 3 Sides started. And honestly, 3 Sides isn't one of my favorite Kiss podcasts, but they were almost first, at least in my book. So, and then when Mitch left, I kind of got out of it because he's such a wealth of knowledge and a cool dude.
And, Joey, what you were saying that didn't get recorded is just a cool guy. Yeah. And, he could be on whenever because he can talk about anything with us. He is a great drummer. I saw him in 2004 with you, and I met him after. That was the first time I ever came in contact with Joey, and I was, I don't even know, 17. And he signed my ZO2, album. And now I've had him on the podcast twice, and he's a great guy to talk to. We talk wrestling on the side. He sends me his Wrestling with Joey Licious stuff, and I share it around for him. And honestly, he is spot on with the way that Wrestling with Joey Licious is portrayed and going. So since Mitch and Joey are both gone right now, and it's just me and you, we'll just plug, follow Mitch and Joey on Instagram and Twitter. Mitch LaFon and Joey Casada. And, let them know what you thought of this, too, not just me and Chaz. And why don't you drop your...
Yeah, I finally joined the Twitterverse. I'm at Chaz ABAO, and new on there, I'm retweeting. I'm trying to get into the game. Y'all need to come join me and help me with this. Mm-hmm. I'm the old guy here. I got a whole year and a half on you. It's hard to know how to use these newfangled social media things. Right, but I'm learning. Right. And this was a great conversation. I've loved both of our drafts so far.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to do more. And I think we should do, and I mentioned it with Joe Polo, I think we should do with Joe Polo and Joey Casada a wrestling-themed episode.
Yes.
Those dudes talk Kiss and music all the time. I guarantee you they'll be down. Even if it's at a draft, just in a conversation.
I don't know. I'm thinking we maybe do a draft of who your champions would be, your ultimate champions in professional wrestling.
Okay. I'm
just
down.
saying.
I'm down.
I'm just throwing it out there. Also, guys, make sure you're following the podcast on Instagram and Twitter at ABAOPod. We're really trying to grow that following, and we are very interactive, so get on that and check that out and subscribe to the show on all your favorite podcasting apps.
Yeah, and Chris Jericho, I'm coming for you tonight, brother.
You're going to have to come back and let us know if a friend of the show is coming on the show.
If we don't get to meet Chris Jericho, whatever. I didn't get to pay for the VIP, which I would have because they all sold out.
Right.
Because Fozzy is either huge or just those goddamn marks. It's one of the two. It's probably a bunch of guys in AEW shirts that don't even know 2 songs because they only know Judas.
They only know Judas. They can't wait to sing Judas.
I'll tell you, they're awesome. I'm looking forward to this. Maybe I'll give you guys a nice concert review.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks for being here again and creating this whole concept, and we will see you guys next week.
Peace.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.